Hi, everyone, and thank you for joining us at the Guesty meetup. Today, we'll be discussing travel and industry trends to guide you and your business in 2021. I am Vered Raviv Schwartz, President and COO of Guesty. I'm delighted to have with me today Eric Bergalia, Senior Director of Homes and Families at Booking.com. Welcome, Eric, and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
We'll be starting with some optimistic trends that we're seeing here at Guesty based on the Guesty data. Starting with the US, as you can see, reservation volume for the summer this year is 282% higher than last summer, which is amazing. You might be thinking, well, maybe we are still at pre-COVID levels. So the answer is that we're actually 32% higher than the pre-COVID summer numbers. So 32% higher than 2019 and almost 300% higher than summer 2020, which means that people are really starting to book their travel for this summer and planning to really find some time for vacations after a very difficult year. Not only that, we're seeing prices go up with our hosts pocketing more profit per reservation. So if you look at summer reservations, you will see June is 5% higher, July 18% higher, and August 16% higher than last year. And not only that, although length of summer reservations is not higher in June, it is longer in July and August, 7% and 10% respectively, which means people are not only planning to go on vacation this summer, they're planning a longer vacation and willing to pay more for it, which means great news for hosts all around the globe. Across the pond, going to the UK, we're also seeing a busy season with 180% higher than the summer of 2020. There, it's still lower than pre-COVID days, so still 33% lower. However, prices are much more expensive, over 20% more than the summer of 19. So if we are looking more closely at UK booking costs, we see June 32% more expensive, July 41%, and August 24%. So really seeing that there's a lot of demand, we assume, especially locally in the UK, which causes pricing to go up dramatically. So I do want to mention Guesty, of course, the company where I am COO and president. And for those not familiar with Guesty, we're a platform that is an end-to-end solution for automating the complex operational needs accompanying property management for short-term rentals. We've seen that especially during COVID, clients relied on Guesty for being more effective, more efficient, getting better occupancy rates, and really managing their portfolio in better ways. And we're very happy to help our customers during this time, not only by using the Guesty platform, but also by using the marketplace of third-party offerings that we provide, including the online travel agencies such as Booking.com, which is with us today, and additional third-party solutions for optimizing pricing, optimizing operations, smart home automation, and so on and so forth. We are very positive and optimistic, as I've mentioned, about 2021. If you haven't seen the latest news, we've closed a $50 million Series D round of funding just recently, and also acquired two notable property management software solutions, MyVR in the US and NoorPorter in the Netherlands. And we believe this will be a part of that trend of consolidation of the industry by working together and creating a better and stronger brand serving all types of property managers, from small individual hosts to large enterprise size hosts. And with that, I'd like to welcome Eric Bergalia again for joining us today, Senior Director of Homes and Families at Booking.com. Hello, Eric. How are you?
Hello, I'm good, thanks.
Wonderful. It's lovely to have you today. We have a lot of registrants joining us both on the Zoom link as well as on the different social channels today. And we have a lot of questions, and a lot of them would like to get your feedback and insights on the trends you're seeing for 2021 and beyond. So I want to start with a question that I'm sure is on everyone's mind. When you talked last summer at the Verma, you mentioned that the pandemic has accelerated travelers' appetites for short-term rental accommodation compared to the hotel accommodation. I'd like to understand if now you're still seeing the same trend, and if you mentioned 40% of all new bookings at the time, where does this number stand today?
Yeah. So indeed, last year in Q2 reported 40% of newly booked room nights, and overall last year we had about 30% reported room nights. So this is net of cancellations for the entire year for alternative accommodations. So we see this trend still very strong in terms of bookings coming for alternative accommodations. What we see also in Q1, and we had our earnings call last week, we reported that Q1 was at the same levels as the Q1 before for alternative accommodations. There's an element of mix in there, like Europe was still very strongly hit by the travel restrictions, etc. And we have a higher mix of alternative accommodations in Europe. So, but still, I think we were able to also offset part of this with the growing trend in the US. And just for the month of April, we're seeing already the numbers accelerating every day. So when I look at my numbers every single day now, it's going up and up again. So I'm pretty sure that Q2, Q3 will be even bigger months in terms of share of alternative accommodations.
Thank you. And another trend that we saw in the pandemic, and I'm sure everyone would want to know where it's going these days, we've seen longer stays during the pandemic and also last-minute bookings. Are you seeing the same trend now, or are you seeing things normalizing in terms of length of stay and last-minute bookings?
So yeah, good question. So on the length of stay, definitely we've seen a steady increase in the length of stay for the bookings. So depending on the countries, it can even double, triple. This is where we were a year or 2 years ago. So it's been steadily increasing. So that's a good thing. And we also know that we did some research, and travelers who answered that research were 37% of them, global travelers here, mentioned that when they are able to travel again, they want to do that for more than a week. So I think there is confirmation that the customer intent is there to travel for at least a week or more. And we're seeing that in the numbers for sure. So definitely this is here to stay. Also looking at the booking window, last minute bookings, still indeed a big thing. I think when you compare to pre-COVID levels, definitely the booking window has contracted. But when you compare Q1 versus Q4 last year, you can see that it contracted less. So, and in some parts of the world, like Western Europe, for example, you can see already actually that booking window expanding. So back to the numbers that you showed, I think people starting to regain hope, I guess, and starting to book more in advance for longer lengths of stay in the summer for to be able to work from anywhere, enjoy your time with family, etc.
Thank you. And I believe that the next question is a follow-up for that. Do you think it also involves the difference between domestic travel and international travel? Because I think 2020 was indeed the year of domestic travel. Yeah. Now we see travel bans being lifted, vaccinations making people more confident or comfortable traveling abroad. So do you see those trends in terms of international travel? And do you think that will also impact, the window to booking and the length of stay as well?
So definitely, I think the domestic travel has been like the synonymous with last year. We again in Q1 we mentioned that we saw 85% of domestic bookings. So out of all the bookings that we had, so and this is much higher than what we used to see on Booking.com. So definitely this domestic trend is very strong. It was even higher in Q1 in the US than it was in 2019. And April was the first month, actually, for Booking.com, where we saw flat numbers on domestic versus 2019 globally. So I think domestic still is the preferred way to go for the customers. International travel will slowly but surely come back, but we know that, for example, in the US, about 65-70% of surveyed customers say that they prefer to travel domestically again this year in the near future. So we're still hopeful that with the vaccines and as people get more comfortable traveling again, I think we'll see international travelers go back. And I think this is one of the things we were looking for US partners. We know that we can send them a lot of great international customers, guests. So I think we're hopeful that this will come, but definitely domestic will still be the stronger trend to care about in the short midterm.
So you're basically saying to hosts that this year they should still be focusing on domestic as well.
I think that's depending on where you are in the world and how hopeful you are that you will get different kind of travelers. I think, yes, domestic will still be what will fuel in the growth and the summer and maybe later in the year. I think still you should be ready to start welcoming international hosts as well, guests as well, sorry. And for that, just start getting things ready in terms of maybe pricing, your geo rates, and all the different things that you might want to do to attract international guests. Would be ready to start already making bookings, probably bookings with a longer booking window and flexible rates, because those are the guests who will want to make sure that they don't take any risk when they start traveling again.
Thank you. And that brings me to a question that I hear a lot from hosts: cancellation policies. What is your recommendation? What do you see trending? It was a big thing again last year. What would you recommend to hosts? To keep it, to
So as a default, keep it. I think I mentioned some customer surveys that we run, and one of them showed that about 50%, 46% of global travelers consider that having a fully flexible booking is a must-have. So this will drive the decision, and 35% of them mentioned flexibility to change dates as something that is critical for them. So that's a lot of customers saying that they want flexibility, either in cancellation or just the ability to switch dates depending on how things go in terms of new restrictions, lockdowns, etc. So I think this is definitely something that is important, and we see that even more in our numbers. Free cancellation is something that we know our customers care about, and we see that in our numbers. The lion's share of our bookings right now for the summer especially is on fully flexible policies. Now, with that being said, doesn't mean that you cannot be ready to welcome any kind of guest, and also are on the side of, because guests want flexibility, but they also want good prices. So I think if you, for example, on Booking.com, if you try to make sure that you have optimal rate plans with at least one non-refundable and one fully flexible or flexible policy, I think that way you're properly set up. If there's a guest who wants a cheaper price and non-refundable and is willing to take the risk, this is good. You have it live on the platform. If you want to attract the bigger share of customers who still want flexibility as the number one thing, I think this is something that you should have as well.
Great idea. So
it's both. It's not either or. It's both actually.
Yeah, and really capture the most occupancy you can by playing
Exactly.
these trends. Interesting. And I think another question interesting for hosts at this time, because of the changes that we've seen in audience travel, and because the market is and the world is slowly opening up, do you see also particular changes with regard to amenities that guests are more commonly searching for when choosing their accommodation? Are there any tips and recommendations you can give on the amenity side?
Well, definitely what we've seen is, the alternative accommodation on all the privacy space that they, and the reassurance, social distancing that they provide, I think is key. So anything that you can do in terms of content, photos, all these different things, descriptions that will help make sure that it's clear for the customer when they come and book that they have they have their private kitchen, they have their private bathroom, they have a private pool, like basically put private everywhere where this is private. And we've seen great conversion gains in the past year in doing this. Like we've been investing in the alternative accommodation segment for several years by now, but really doubled down last year and even more when the crisis hit. And all the things we've done and that proved to be successful are about confirming to the guests that this is the entire place that they're getting, and that there's a strong level of privacy and safety and space. So I think anything that goes that contributes to this, I think you should try to optimize it. And for example, on Booking.com, it's all about improving your content score and making sure that you provide as many details as possible to be able to for the guests to see that this is the entire place they're getting. I think another thing that is key is it's not necessarily about amenities, etc. It's more about the cleanliness and health and safety. I think we, again, back to that survey that we ran last year, over 70% of people are making their decisions, are more likely to book a property if they are very clear on the kind of measures and policies that have been taken by the property and the host in terms of cleanliness, hygiene, etc. So it's very important to make sure that you are as clear as possible on all the things you are doing to be able to provide a healthy and clean place. And for this, we introduced last summer the health and safety measures. So ways for you to easily say, hey, this is what I'm doing for any new check-in, so that people can be comfortable checking into booking your property and checking into your property. And maybe one last thing that comes to mind is probably also trying to stress, be clear on whether or not you would be able to work from that property. I think we know that longer lengths of stay, we discussed that before, goes also with be able to work from anywhere and being able to be very clear on, is there a place where you can actually work? Is there a good free Wi-Fi and a few other things available for people who want to work remotely? I think this is also something that is becoming table stakes to make sure that you capture all the different kind of demand that will come.
Yeah, I think that we've seen it a lot, that people all of a sudden look for, I mean, if it doesn't have Wi-Fi, I can't use this space. So it's quite remarkable. And I also think that the fact that people can work from an apartment more than they can work from, a small hotel room made a lot of difference this year. That's what we've heard from hosts and guests as well, because you want to have a proper desk, you want to have some space, you want not to be cooped up when you have to work 9 hours in a row and so on. So definitely a good idea. Great. Another thing that I've seen in our survey, we had a survey to over 500 property managers across the world, and over 83% of the respondents believe that travelers who made the switch from hotels to private rentals during the pandemic will continue to book short-term rentals even once COVID is behind us. And I was wondering if you see a similar trend, if you believe in the same idea of that short-term rentals have really captured more audience and more attention that will remain with us in the following years.
Yeah, so answer is yes. And it's not because I look after the alternative accommodation business for Booking.com. No, definitely, this was a step change in terms of consideration and awareness of alternative accommodations, and we see that in the numbers. We see that in the number of property pages viewed by customers. We see that in the number of searches, clicks on paid search campaigns. So definitely globally, internally, externally, we see that all the signals show that this is a step change, and now everybody is aware of this, which is also good for us and for the partners working with Booking.com, for example, because it's not just high intent vacation rentals customers who are coming to the platform, right? It's someone who wants to go for 2 weeks with their family somewhere on the coast of Florida, and they want a place that can be convenient for them to work, maybe, etc. And then there could be hotels and chains, but there are also alternative accommodations. And maybe in the past, they didn't necessarily pay attention to this. Now they will probably definitely have a higher intent and consideration for this kind of property. So if you look at the growth in terms of share of bookings overall, so what I mentioned before, and this keeps increasing, and also the higher appetite and awareness for this new way of traveling, I think definitely this is here to stay, and this will become, there are more chances for a vacation rental, any other kind of alternative accommodation to be booked than before. Now, that doesn't mean that this is the end of hotels and chains as we know them. Obviously, I think they're also doing incredible things to be able to adapt to the new demand. And what we see is that depending on the audience and the kind of customer, everybody still has a chance to get that booking. And I think, for example, like this summer, I'm going to go back to my home country in France, work for 2 weeks from an apartment somewhere in the mountains, but I will go away to a hotel for a romantic getaway. And this is just one example of me being home, work from anywhere customer, also hotel customer. So this is here to stay, and maybe with those different kind of combinations, and no longer maybe just hotels or just vacation rentals.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that there are probably different personas that will, stick with one form of travel or another. Especially, we see it a lot in families, and we see it that, tried an apartment for the first time and said, oh, that's wonderful. I have, more space, place for the kids, place for everybody to do their Zoom at the same time. But, we can also use it just for a family gathering. And I think the digital nomads that have become more and more popular in the past year, and we've seen a lot of that. And so if you're a digital nomad, indeed, you need a workspace, you need Wi-Fi, you need all those things that will really allow you to be there for a longer time. So I definitely agree with you there. Another question for you. We've heard that, and saw that you're expanding in the USA at the moment. So what can you tell our US property managers that they can expect from this partnership with Booking.com? What's the unique selling points or the advantages that you can offer?
So where to start? Now, first, indeed, like the US has always been an important region for us. But over the past couple of years, where we've steadily increased the efforts in terms of how to cater to the needs of all the different partners on one side and the customer on the other. And it accelerated last year. So actually, it was last year we really started building our product with a US first lens, both on the partner side and the customer side. So this year, what I can tell you is that already in terms of overall Booking.com presence, maybe you might have seen that, but we had our Welcome Back America campaign that we launched in April, where we give for anyone who makes a booking by 1st of June, you have a $50 travel credit for any future stay. So this is a big investment also in trying to get people to travel again with Booking.com. And alternative accommodations is a big part of the communication there and the messaging. So this is already us investing massively in growing our brand and the awareness that we have homes and apartments, etc., in the US. That's one.
Just this campaign that you mentioned, it's just for alternative accommodation or for hotels and all?
No, it's for any kind of accommodation, because really, Booking.com has every accommodations. But if you look at the campaign online, it's at least half, if not more, of the content is about alternative accommodations. And next to that, there are specific regions where we've been investing or will invest in marketing, specifically on alternative accommodation. So you can expect in the next few months to see us be a way more vocal when it comes to alternative accommodation in specific strategic part of the US. So that's more on the demand side of things. And again, I think right now we're seeing great growth, as I mentioned, overall, including for homes in the US on the domestic side of things. But I think for what's important to get also for our partners is the potential when travel comes back, international travel is back, to capture a lot of international guests as well, guests who might be willing to pay to have more expensive properties or stay for longer, obviously, as well, this kind of thing. So I think this is also a very important point. So that's more on the demand aspect of things. Then, I mean, on the partner side, if you've been considering Booking.com in the past, or you work with us and you're back after 2 years, a lot of things have changed. I think in terms of customer experience on the site, the visibility, discoverability of homes, apartments, vacation rentals it's very different. There was a real step change in how we surface that to the customers. One example was maybe you heard of that, is the quality rating that we introduced. So at VRMA 2019, we launched the quality rating for homes and apartments. So we introduced the first ever machine learning based star rating for alternative accommodations. And thanks to this, properties that before were not able to get necessarily the right exposure when someone was filtering a 3-star, 4-star, etc., now is getting that visibility. So this is just one example of the many things that we've done in terms of improving the experience, making sure that people, a lot of customers who might not have a high intent for a home, might actually get that. So this is incremental demand. Back to the example I gave before. If your family want to go to Orlando for 2 weeks, and you don't necessarily have a preference in terms of accommodation, and we have a way to make sure that you will book that first home that maybe you never booked before. And I think this is one of the key things in terms of what kind of new demand, incremental demand and exposure that we can bring to your property, on top of the marketing angle, knowing that 35%, if I remember correctly, there's an industry figure that says that about 35% of direct bookings for a property comes from being present on an OTA. So that's definitely this kind of thing also that you must take into account. And on the partner side, I think there's a lot of things that we've done in terms of connectivity, obviously working with partners like you guys to try to make it as easy as possible to onboard with the right level of performance. Make it easy if you're on another OTA already to import your listings and be available in the blink of an eye. And a lot of other things in terms of pricing, adoption to trying our genius or preferred programs, etc. So there's a lot of things in terms of how you are able to understand the trends, capture those trends, and optimize your listing on Booking.com to make sure that you are in line with competition on this other competitive sets on the platform, but also just overall against hotels and any other kind of property on the platform. So probably more so in terms of health and safety, trust and safety features. I think we can easily now be able to, you can easily set up house rules, put your brand logo and host profiles and a few things to explain who you are, what you want or don't want in terms of guests on the platform, etc. So there's a lot that has been done in the last 2 years that I think make it easy and very convenient for any partner in the US or anywhere else in the world to be on the platform, if that makes any sense.
Okay, that's a lot of information.
Yeah, I don't know if you have any specific follow-up, but yeah.
No, but I think it's really interesting. You mentioned also the Genius program, so I think it's people would probably need some education to to understand all the different benefits and campaigns that are available to them. And I was just wondering if there's also something unique for the U.S. market that they should, be thinking about. In addition to that, can you tell us what type of information can property managers have when using your platform in relation to type of guests and the booking they can get? Is there something specific you can mention there?
Yes, of course. So there's a lot of different data points that you can get. So first, obviously, information about the types of bookers that you get. So is it families, solo travelers, where they come from? Is it domestic and national travelers? Which country they're coming from, etc. So this is already the kind of things that you can get for your bookings, but also in terms of trends, in search trends on the platform. Also information for the competitive sets. So in your markets, in your region, what kind of policies gets booked the most, insights about pricing and how expensive or not you are compared to the average of your competitive set. So a lot of other things that will help you improve your performance on the platform. And also capture maybe that those different demand opportunities that maybe you're not necessarily capturing at a given time because your listing is not optimized. For example, no flexible rate, or maybe not the right price for long stays, or these kind of things. So this is like overall what you can get from the extranet, from connected partners as well, etc.
Great, thank you. I tried to take one question from the audience now. A lot of the questions were around cancellation policies and the flexibilities. I believe many of them are concerned that, they will get, flexible cancellation policy, and then guests will book, in the high season where, it's most expensive, and then cancel last minute because they don't want to come over, or because they booked alternative spots and decided to cancel one of them last minute. So how do you think hosts can deter guests from doing that, booking and canceling last minute? Would you recommend?
So this is one of the instant booking and flexibility to free cancellation is part of the reason why customers are coming to the platform. They know that there is a risk-free element to their booking, and they can make the best choice for them. Now, I mentioned optimal rate plan. So I think already, if you prefer to have a non-refundable booking, like make sure that you're set up for success and you have all different options, and make sure that you have an attractive price for the non-refundable, and you have the right price for the flexible rate. Then you can also decide what kind of cancellation window you want to have. So it can be same day, could be 3 to 5 days, could be 15 days, so semi-flex. I think there's also more than just either non-refundable or its ability to cancel till the very last minute. So I think this is important to try to set up your policy in the right way based on the level of risk that you're willing to take. And for this, I think our systems are enabling you to make those kind of refinements based on the risk appetite. So I think there's it's not just come and put your listing and fully flexible till the 6 o'clock on the same day. You have different options to also mitigate that risk. And then obviously making sure that you have all the right information back to the content and the thing that will lead to the decision for the customer. If you have all the right things set up for your listing, then it will be clear for the customer. They won't have necessarily questions or fears about what they are about to book. And if it's clear for them, they will most likely not cancel. And then there's a lot of other things that I think when you work with Booking.com, you will be able to have access to that. Like for example, if you are eligible to a Genius program and put your properties on Genius program, do it, because Genius customers, who are our most loyal customers, cancel less than others. So there's also then a way to be able to, through adoption of the different things that are recommended to you in terms of performance, also optimize these kind of things.
Right. Can you elaborate a little on the Genius program? And
yes. Oh, yeah. So Genius, this is our loyalty program. So if you are booking at least twice on booking.com, you're becoming Genius level 1. Then past a certain level of bookings, you're becoming Genius level 2. And there are specific things that that you can offer to the Genius customers. For example, 10-15% discount for the hotels. It's free breakfast or a room upgrade. So you can also, if you have several units, you can also try to apply with those benefits as well. So it's enabling you to have access to this higher intent and more loyal customers of booking.com and offer them specific rewards to be able to secure the bookings. And by doing this, when a Genius customer comes to the platform and ticks the Genius box in terms of filters, then you make sure that you're also part of this. So Genius is next to the price. So this is an important element for customers when they come and search a property on the platform.
So in other words, you're required to provide certain benefits to the Genius customers, but on the other hand, you're getting higher quality of guests on average.
Yes, exactly, yes.
Got it. Great idea as well. And I think you also mentioned to me earlier, we talked about the amenities that allow you to work from anywhere. Do you think that's also something that will continue as a trend, and hosts can, try to highlight that to get guests that are, more loyal and will have longer stays?
Yes. I think already back in, I think I remember some numbers from 2019 showing that 30% or something, about 30% of business travelers were already staying, booking alternative accommodations. If you look at the trends and then you research on millennials and what they would like to, how they would like to behave when it comes to business travel, I think alternative accommodations is again top of the list in many cases. So all that combined plus the indeed the post-COVID impact and higher awareness for alternative accommodations, I think definitely this is also here to stay. So back to the amenities, facilities, etc. that I mentioned before. If you have the ability to list your property in a way that you make it very clear that you have all the health and safety measures in place, that you have the right space to work, free Wi-Fi, a few other things that business bookers or digital nomads are looking for. I think this is more than ever something that needs to be taken into account. And we had a program like that. Like we launched last year the Work Friendly program, which enables you by listing all this or by doing the right things in terms of amenities, facilities, and other details that you make available for the customer, to also get the badge that tells your property is as a good fit for people who want to work remotely. I think this is, we're betting on this as well, because we know that this is a trend that is potentially here to stay as well.
Great, thank you. Some more questions from the audience. What is your preferred promotion strategy with the stacking of promotions in mind?
With the stacking of promotions in mind? That's a good question. Will depend on the kind of customers also that you want to attract. But I guess already starting with a non-refundable and a flexible rate, I think it's the very first thing. Then making sure that also if you work with booking, when you register your property, price this in the competitive set so that you're not overpriced. We sometimes see that a lot of properties come with the right setup, but they're just completely overpriced. And for their first booking, I think this is hard. Then ability to provide a first discount. Maybe I don't have specifics. I think it depends on the where you are located and the seasonality as well. But already having that non-refundable, flexible policy as a first thing, and then implementing things that are relevant to your property. Like, for example, if you can accommodate families, maybe you want to be able to adopt child rates and make sure that you price things differently if you have a group of 4 adults or 2 kids and 2 adults. Weekly, I think we have weekly rates and monthly rates as well. Very important, especially as we know that the length of stay is extending. Making sure that you provide the right level of discounts for longer lengths of stay, I think is particularly key in the current context. And then I think mobile rates or geo rates are very important as well. So making sure that, especially in the US and some other countries where we know that it's mobile is even more key, making sure that you have a mobile rate or a geo rate that is tailored to the kind of customers that you hope to get or that you know will come, so that maybe you optimize your chances. So I think the right combination of all this, I think, will make sure that you are set up for success when you are on a platform. And I guess, throughout the years or the months I was booking, there will be other opportunities. I mentioned Genius, ability to provide additional benefits, might not be a price, but maybe a free breakfast or something if you have this kind of things to offer. But really, I think this is what already is important: flexibility and the right set of prices, mobile, long stays, child rates, these kind of things.
Great tips, thank you. Another question, probably from our European hosts: what trends are you seeing with Europe travel and bookings? Because everybody knows that US is, really going, in a very nice trend. But what are you seeing in Europe right now?
Europe is recovering. I think we know that it's depending on the weeks, you have new travel restrictions coming. So it's not easy to predict, but we know that last year we saw great recovery in Europe. I think the classic corridors, like the French going to Italy, the Dutch going to Spain or France, this kind of things. You should expect that this will come back, but domestic travel will be again very strong, or trans-border travel. So we'll see. I think we every now and then you can actually see in Europe right now, when there is a new restriction, the bookings going down from one day to the other. So it's hard to predict, but we're still optimistic in terms of travel within Europe for the summer, especially for vacation rentals in non-urban areas. All the usual suspects by now that non-urban nature destination, coastal destinations for longer lengths of stay, family stays in Europe. I think we should expect a good summer.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, the way I see it, whenever people can get out of the house, they do, and they want to have a summer vacation. And if they're limited to, domestic location, they will go to domestic location. But people definitely want to travel and have some time off in a remote location that's not their house, where they don't have to wash the dishes, right?
Exactly, yes.
Yeah, great. I think those were the main questions we had from the audience that I had for you. Anything else that you would like to add and tell the audience, Eric, before we continue?
No, I think we covered a lot of things regarding travel and Booking.com. I really think that for the partners watching today who are not working with Booking.com yet, I think it's important to understand the potential that it brings in terms of incremental value, incremental types of guests on the alternative accommodation side. I really insist on this because a lot of the searches that we get are not necessarily for a specific type of accommodation, just people who want to go somewhere. They know the criteria that they have. So if you have the right content, you have your listing set up in the right way, you have ability to capture a lot of new type of guests that you maybe wouldn't get necessarily on other platforms or direct. So I think this is a great opportunity for you. And I think really the message around providing the right level of reassurance about health and safety, flexibility, and the right combination of non-refundable and flexible, I think is very, it's stable stakes if you want to be able to perform. And apart from that, I hope that the rest of the world will be able to celebrate as the US, because and travel will be back soon. But at least I'm hopeful that domestically and for specific regions, we'll have a good summer. So your numbers, the numbers that you showed at the beginning, I think are very nice to see, and will bring hope back for a lot of partners.
Definitely. I mentioned our survey a few times. If you want to hear more about what's next for the short-term rental industry, we have an amazing report that we filled in. You can use the link that you see on the screen right now to download it. It's free of charge, and I'm sure you'll have a lot of interesting insights there. And one more thing we want to mention before we go, you mentioned that everybody's looking for travel to come back. We believe it will, and we're actually having a face-to-face conference in Tel Aviv this September. We call it the Guestival, our annual conference for the short-term rental industry, in September 22nd to 24th. And we'd love for all of you to take part. So you can get more information in the link on the screen here. Thank you so much. If you have any more questions, feel free to reach out to us at meetup@guesty.com and check out our next events. We have a lot of them. Thank you again, Eric, for a wonderful session with amazing insights. It was a pleasure as always.
Thanks for having me.
And thank you everyone for joining us today. Have an amazing evening. Thank you so much.